The fundamental rights are an integral part of the Indian Constitution. When the political institutions were made, their role and responsibility mainly focused on empowering the people, especially the minorities, to live in dignity with rights of equality, dignity, and religious freedom. These sections are the vital elements of the Constitution, which was developed between 1947 and 1949 by the Constitution of India. But these rights are restricted to paper. Its implementation is not sufficient. Here, in this video thesis, we have brought out cases and examples of failure of enforcement of fundamental rights and its effects on lives of a common man.
The right to equality, as prescribed by Article 14 of the Indian Constitution Act, is one of the six fundamental rights, which includes equality before law, prohibition of race, prohibition of discrimination on the basis of race, religion, gender, caste, or birthplace, and includes equality of opportunities in matters of employment. It simply treats all people to be the same, and nobody can get a special privilege which will dishonor a group. And today, I am going to talk about the case study of the failure of the Persons of Rights Bill, which has come under the scrutiny of the transgender community for being regressive and discriminatory.
ये बिल आए तो हम लोग पूरे से पूरा हमारे ट्रांसजेंडर परिवार के ऊपर बहुत सारे प्रभाव पड़ेगा, इसीलिए हम लोगों के लिए ये ट्रांसजेंडर बिल भी और ट्रैफिकिंग बिल भी नहीं चाहिए।
BJP government's 2016 transgender bill has been so regressive. One, it became so insensitive towards trans people by defining them as neither man nor woman and kinds of things which is extremely insulting, and then they refused to even change it for quite some time. We've been protesting against that bill for ever since 2016.
The bill, especially the trans bill, it goes completely against the Nalsa judgment of 2014, and that's something we will not take standing quietly.
The Nalsa judgments gave us the rights to identify ourselves. It was a self-declaration kind of right. But here, we'll have to prove it at various steps of the screening committee, starting from a magistrate to a doctor to somebody else to some social worker. And I think at some point, they wouldn't mind even asking us to strip down and show our bodies. It insists on surgery. That is the worst part of it. Many trans community people do not want to do surgery or cannot do surgery for various different reasons. This trans bill also doesn't make a marked difference between the people with intersex variation and trans persons.
ಏನೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ನಾವು ಲೈಕ್ ಲೇಸರಿಂಗು ಅವ್ರ SRS ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಸು ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಎಲ್ಲ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಥರ ನಾವು ಅದು ಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಹಾಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮ ಬಂದು ಹೇಳಬೇಕಂತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ನಮಗೆ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೇ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾವ ಕೋರ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅದು ಮಗನಿಗೆ ಇದು மாதிரி ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಯಾರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ.
The trans persons bill particularly obviously targets begging and sex work, but at the same time it also determines how an independent adult is supposed to choose their gender identity.
हम लोगों के ऊपर इतना ज़बरदस्ती करना लगे है ये बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट, क्योंकि ये हम लोगों को इतना सबको जितना फ्रीडम देते हैं उतना हम लोगों को फ्रीडम नहीं दे रहे। इस पर ये TG बिल में जो बोल रहे हैं ये तो ये नहीं करना है, मांगना नहीं है और सेक्स वर्क नहीं करना है। तो हम लोगों को ट्रांसजेंडर के लिए आज तक किया क्या है ये गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने आज तक कुछ नहीं किया है। आप लोगों के लिए कुछ काम धंधा कुछ नहीं है। तो पहले से यही काम पे हम लोगों ने हमारे समुदाय में जीवन करके आए हैं।
ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪನಿಷಬಲ್ ಬೇರೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳು ಯಾರೋ ನಮಗೆ ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 2 years ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಯಾರು ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅವ್ರು ನಮಗೆ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥದ್ದು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗೆ 2 ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಯಾರು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ?
Tejas Shiva's bill was the best bill which had reservations for education, employment, and everything, and had the international standards of definition of transgenders.
Despite multiple interventions by the community, the bill failed to include measures which are necessary to make society more inclusive. And since the community has long since been shunned and denied job opportunities, furthermore, this bill decriminalizes begging, which has long been the primary source of income for major constituents of this community. Hence, this bill effectively takes away their source of income without providing an alternative. All the while, this bill falls short on the definition of transgender, the right to self identity, the lack of reservations, and its relation to the IPC.
Article 29 of the Indian Constitution states the protection of interests of the minorities wherein any section of the citizens of India having a distinct language, script, or culture of its own shall have the right to conserve the same. This right has been threatened by our Honorable Union Home Minister Amit Shah in his recent speech on Hindi Day, as he puts forward the idea of Hindi as a national language. India, where 43% of its population speaks Hindi and the rest of the country remain in the non-Hindi speaking community, thus the government having aimed to establish a Hindi hegemony. Many countries at the time of their independence has associated a sense of nationalism with one single language and one single culture. But in the case of India, people having a diverse culture and varieties of languages who together achieved their freedom has a diverse sense of nationalism compared to the other nations. The newly appointed Chief Minister of Karnataka from the ruling party has clearly stated his dissent on imposing Hindi and also stated that Kannada as the principal language of Karnataka, taking into consideration of the non-Hindi states having dissented Hindi as the national language feel a sense of exclusion. As the Prime Minister aims to provide inclusion of its people with the country, imposing Hindi can cause a sense of exclusion to the non-Hindi speakers. Since the national education policy, wherein it is clearly stated that the mode of education can be provided in two languages, Hindi and English, but as English has been regarded as a language adopted from outside India, the government thus tries to state English as the other. The same scenario in which Pakistan, having a majority of Urdu speakers, were excluded and considered as the other. Here, a question arises that what if the other states impose their regional language to be the national language? Would you be ready to accept it? Hindi itself has different dialects, making Hindi even more complicated for non-Hindi speakers to understand. Each regional language defines a particular region. It highlights its beautiful culture and ethnicity. Taking away their language takes away this beauty of individuality from them. The government making the decision to impose a single language considers compromising the languages of other states. India is renowned for its diversity. The tagline, Unity in Diversity, is a term coined for India's diverse culture. This term, which people from foreign countries come to witness, is destroyed when a single language is imposed by the government. As the fight for one language continues, this issue has no meaning to a farmer who lives his life in poverty and financial struggle. The government thus has to look into the matters of its economic welfare rather than the less important language crisis. Thus, my final conclusion to this language crisis is that Hindi should only be seen as the mode to communicate within the country. But when it comes to speaking globally with different people of different countries, English should take preference due to its global reach. Imposing Hindi on every individual of the country not only destructs the sense of individuality but also the welfare and harmony of the nation.
Secularism is a priceless objective to strive for and defend given the grim challenges it faces from non state actors, often with the connivance of the state. Reality has never been along the lines of this thought, rather, fascist approach has become influential in our societies. Here in this video, the External Affairs Minister S. Jai Shankar addresses the issue of secularism following the backlash received from the international community of writers and Nobel Prize Award winners.
Don't accept that secularism is under threat for a very simple reason. Look, at the end of the day, secularism was not promoted by a law or by a constitutional belief. It was promoted by the ethos of the society. So, if the ethos of the society was not secular, no law, no constitutional provision would have ensured it. And I don't think the ethos of the society has changed, because I think the ethos of India and the Hindu ethos of India is actually very secular. It's very.
The so-called ethos of society have become eroded and a strong sense of otherness has been created among our society. It's only notions of secularism that exist and the fundamental right of freedom to practice religion of one's choice have come to the extent of being unchecked. Mob lynching, reconversion of Muslims to Hindus, meat ban, Babri Masjid dispute, votes mobilized on the grounds of religion, heads of religious institutions becoming chief ministers are those which pose a threat to secularism. Being resilient is the only way forward for the so-called others in India. But how much longer can they take in the oppression and discrimination imposed upon by the radical nationalists?
Freedom of speech is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. According to Article 19 of Indian Constitution, everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. What happens when an Indian exercises this right? R.S. Mugilan is a human rights defender from Chennai. He was most recently been involved in anti-sterlite movement, which opposes a copper plant in Thoothukudi set up by the copper smelting company Sterlite Industries Limited Vedanta Resources. The human rights defender was part of fact-finding team investigating the violence that broke out during the anti-sterlite protest in Thoothukudi on 22nd May 2018, during which police shot and killed 13 persons. At 11:30 a.m. on 15th February 2019, R.S. Mugilan took part in a press conference. Its purpose was to discuss the violence that broke out during the anti-sterlite protest in Thoothukudi on 22nd May 2018. At the press conference, R.S. Mugilan released a documentary entitled "Koluthiயது யார்? மறைக்கப்பட்ட உண்மைகள்." The documentary claimed that police, in collaboration with officials from Sterlite Industries, had allowed a number of individuals who R.S. Mugilan believed were hired by Sterlite to disrupt the protests. After the press conference at around 6:30 pm, R.S. Mugilan made a call to his friend, who is Tamil Nadu State Focal Point and Regional Coordinator of Human Rights Defenders Alert India for South India. In the call, R.S. Mugilan told his friend that he had received threats and he was worried about police action against him following the allegations he made against high-level police officials. At around 9:30 pm on 15 February, R.S. Mugilan informed his friends that he had arrived at Chennai Egmore railway station train to Madurai. CCTV footage from the station shows R.S. Mugilan walking out of Egmore railway station after 10 pm, but there is no further information about his whereabouts and also no indication of whether he is in fact boarded the train. On 18th February 2019, fearing that R.S. Mugilan had been forcibly disappeared for his claims at the press conference, People's Watch submitted a habeas corpus petition to the Madras High Court after their complaints about R.S. Mugilan's suspected abduction to the Chief Minister's office and Tamil Nadu's DGP were not acted upon. The Madras High Court proceeded to direct Commissioner of Police, Chennai, and Superintendents of Police of Kanchipuram and Viluppuram district to submit a response by 22nd February 2019. Since then, Tamil Nadu police have registered a missing person report. On 25th February 2019, the Tamil Nadu DGP issued an order to transfer the case to CBCID for further investigation. R.S. Mugilan was seen protesting at railway station of Tirupati as early as 10:40 am on 6 July. On the 9th of 6 July 2019, R.S. Mugilan was arrested and transferred to the custody of Crime Branch of Crime Investigation Department and produced before the magistrate the following day. He remains in the custody of CBCID on account of first information report that was filed several weeks after his disappearance that accuses him of committing rape and sexual violence. There is a lack of safe and enabling environment in India for human rights defenders to carry out their valuable work. There are much more cases like Mugilan's where people cannot express their opinion in public forum. The government must make sure that public who are expressing their opinion are safeguarded.
Ever since the dawn of civilization, in every society, the stronger has exploited the weak. To counter this, the Indian government, through the fundamental right against exploitation, strives to uplift the weak. The rights against exploitation is provided under Articles 23 and 24 of the Constitution of India. The right against exploitation, provided under the Constitution, is designed to prevent the exploitation of men against their fellow beings. The right against exploitation, enshrined in the Indian Constitution, guarantees the dignity of every individual. It also prohibits the exploitation or the misuse of service by force or inducement in the following ways. Slavery, which is the most prevalent and perhaps the cruelest form of human exploitation, and human trafficking, that is, the buying and selling of human beings like they are a commodity. Now, I will be showing a case study of Miss Jayashree, a young woman who was trafficked into the horrendous and undignified business of prostitution at the mere age of 12.
It's estimated there are up to 65 million victims of human trafficking in India, but trying to find one that will talk to us is proving to be incredibly difficult. After considerable effort, we've been told of a girl who was trafficked as a child and is prepared to tell us her story.
I'm hoping that through that door, that lady's going to be waiting for us and she'll explain to us just how she was trafficked at 12 years old. Hello?
"15 years ago, Rajashri was trafficked hundreds of miles from a village near Bangalore.
Can you tell me how you became a sex worker?
बता सकते एक जन लेके आया है तो वो बोला है बाटल का धोने का काम करने का है चलो करके तो हम बोला चलो फिर इधर आने के बाद धंधा का लाइन पे लगा दिए ऊपर तीसरा माला पे लेके गई तीसरा माला पे लेके जाके उसका रूम था उधर उसने उधर लेके जाके पूरा मेरे को फिर बाद में कस्टमर आया उसके बाद वो काम भी कराने लगी.
So you're 12 years old and this woman locks you up in a room. Can you remember the first person that came through that door, the first man? You can remember him?
उसने वो औरत ने बोली नया है करके बोला ना सर, मतलब बहुत पैसा लेके आके
And you were a virgin, yeah?
कभी किया नहीं था सर. अपना गांव में तो ऐसा करेगा तो मार के फेंके देगा सर नदी वदी में.
How many a day would come to see you?
10 आता था, कभी 15 आता था सर. ऐसा नाइट भी आता था सर. 3 सालों तक मैं कमरे में बंद था सर. उस टाइम हम लोग का खेलने का कूदने का ये रहता था सर. उसने ऐसा लाइन पे लेके आके फंसा के ये कर दिया ना सर, तो छीन ही लिया ना सर हमारा.
Do you see other girls now of your age locked away like you were? Have you witnessed that, and is that still happening?
हाँ होते ही रहते हैं सर वो तो.
I just think it's despicable that a human being could treat a 12-year-old child like that. Undoubtedly, it has dehumanized her. You know, just looking into her eyes, there was a deadness behind them. She was vacant. It wasn't an emotional interview because I think she's had a lot of the human emotions that she had when she was a child just knocked out of her, destroyed.
As seen in the case of Ms. Rajashri, even though a right has been given to the citizens, it is not optimally utilized nor adequately supported by federal agents. Hence, the government should strive to eradicate the slave and trafficking industry at its roots, rather than rescuing people who are already psychologically and physically harmed, because prevention is always better than cure.